question from Lynn was, how do you promote a book by a friend who passed away in August? You self-published his book. Oh, I'm sorry to hear about your friend, but I'm glad to see that he is being remembered in such a beautiful way. All right, you really appreciate any insights you can offer. Roland's book was a memoir, and you can see more about it on his website, and it's Roland's story, inspired by his stroke. Well, you can promote it in many different ways. Since it is a memoir, but it does focus on a stroke, I think that you can use that as a platform. There are many groups that are specifically for stroke victims, stroke families. The medical community can be a great way, and then you also have your memoir groups. So you can promote by just being involved in those groups and newsletters and Facebook groups. Certainly Amazon ads are a great way to do it. And also, this is the type of thing that may be very popular with something like Midwest Book Review. So I think it's more finding your target, finding people who would relate to Roland's story and sharing it there. And that's what I would do. If there are, I don't know, medical blogs or blogs of people who have suffered a stroke or who are living after a stroke, that's the kind of market I would focus on to connect to people who would appreciate Roland's story. All right. Do you have recommendations for book signings at local bookstore? Do you authors do readings? Do your authors do readings? Other activities, or what else have authors done for book signings? Nonfiction books specifically, not really a reading per se. Well, David, I think book signings are a great way to connect with your local bookstores and your libraries. I think that if it's a nonfiction book, is it a memoir? Is it on a certain topic? I think that if you have a book on a specific topic and you have knowledge that you can share, instead of a reading, you can maybe turn it into a mini class or an informational session. But I think that getting into your local bookstore is such a great idea. And the best way to do that is literally just to call them, to email them and say, I'm a local author. I'd love to work with you to bring a crowd into your store. Are you open to doing an event with a local author? And many times they will say yes. They will want your book available at Ingram at a full trade discount, which means you're setting your Ingram Spark discount at 55%. Or they will want you to do consignment, which is where you buy your books and you sell them into the store and they only pay you for what you sell. So I would say one of those two options, but usually local bookstores do like to support local authors. They know that you have a base that you can probably bring into their store, which is mutually beneficial. And just make sure that you approach them with that kind of mindset, that you would like to help them help you. And have some type of idea of what you want to do. They are looking for professionally done books. They want to make sure that you have a nice cover, that it's edited, that you have a price barcode, and all that kind of thing. So make sure that your book is well done, and then go present it and see what they say. All right, I'm going to go over to the official. Hi, Anna. I did get your email. I haven't looked through it yet, but I got it, and it's on my list for today. All right. All right, Pat, you're saying you can't hear me, but everyone else can. I don't know if it might be your audio that needs to go up, maybe. All right, Stephen Roberts. I recently saw a group of YouTubers raise money for a cause, and I wanted to launch a similar campaign with other influencers to help people pay for college. From your experience in partnering with other people, what are some things that you could tell us about how to partner with others? For example, what would you recommend about using your own main website versus creating a new website for the campaign? At what stage would you contact other partners? Well, here it is. It depends on what the end goal is. If you want to connect with other people to further your own book, your own marketing, then you keep your website and you invite them in. But you have to let them know that this offer benefits them somehow. Almost no one will do something for nothing unless it's a straight just for charity. But if they are helping you promote your book or your platform, they will want something in return, whether that be return marketing or just some type of monetary compensation. It really just depends. But if you're all kind of marketing together, so Steve and I know you have a book that's all about how to pay for college. So maybe you work with someone who is a financial advisor or a tax person who you can kind of team up together and offer two finance driven uh, services that don't overlap so that you each get your little cut of the pie. As far as having a new website that just focuses on that collaboration, I would only do that if it's long term and if it makes sense. Otherwise, I'd go from your main website, maybe have a tab, or do a Facebook group, GoFundMe page. It really just depends exactly what you're raising money for and how it will be used. But absolutely find someone that would benefit from being in that group with you and then present it to them. I think this would be a good idea because I will draw on the college crowd who wants to pay for college, and their parents who have a lot of finances, maybe they have some type of finance to invest that could be a good market for you, and that's why I think we'd work well together. Make sure that when you're offering a collaboration, you're looking at it from the other person's side. What value do you bring? And then how exactly do you want to use that collaboration to your benefit? You have to have very specific goals and measurements in place, or else it will just be a mashup of things that don't really get anyone anywhere. All right. What forms of advertising are most effective for books? Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Amazon. Stephen, that really depends on your book and your market. Fiction does very, very well on Facebook, I would say, because that's where a lot of fiction readers are at. However, if you are in business, if you are in certain groups and genres, YouTube does well because that's where people will go to watch videos and webinars. Amazon, I really like Amazon marketing, and here's why. Because when someone is browsing around on Amazon, they generally are looking to purchase something. It's not like Amazon, or I'm sorry, it's not like Facebook or Instagram where they're just kind of browsing pictures and maybe they'll see your ad and click on it and then buy. Amazon, people are on there because they're ready to spend money. So I like the platform for that reason. I tend to see more return on investment. However, there are some big genres that are very competitive. Two of those are romance and mystery. So if you have a fiction book, Amazon ads may cost you more than they get you. However, it depends on your goal. Is your goal to just stay in the game so that people can see your book? Are you running Amazon ads just trying to get attention on your book because you have a series on Kindle Unlimited and you know that if you can just get book one in front of people, they will go read the next 5 books in the series? It really depends on your individual goals and where your market is at. But Amazon, I think, is almost always a home run if you do it well. And Facebook is very smart for fiction. And again, if you are offering something specific that would hit the target market there. All right. Can you give me the name of a VA who will do Ingram setup? Wendy, let me think on that. I have your email address and I will let you know. I know there are so many people on Fiverr. We do have some VAs that we've worked with and we like very well, but we always ask them if they're willing to have their name put in the pool before we give it out. So I will email you separately for that. All right. What is the best resource for learning how to go wide? Well, I would say that the New Shelf's website actually has a lot of great blogs and information about going wide. But the biggest thing that you need to know is that you need to have your book in Ingram and other wholesalers. It depends on your market. If your market is going to libraries, you really, really can benefit from having Baker and Taylor as one of your wholesalers. But if you're just going after bookstores, then Ingram would be more beneficial because Baker and Taylor no longer works with bookstores. But overall, I think that it's a series of small steps. And if you are looking for a certain step, if you go to our website and our blog, there's a lot of information there. And it depends, again, on what step you're on. Are you on the step of, I only have books on KDP and I need to get onto Ingram? Or are you at the point of everything set up perfectly and now I need to market? That changes the advice because it's such a huge market, and that's a huge question. So it's better to ask piece by piece and learn piece by piece, because if you just try to sit down and learn everything about going wide in one day, your head will explode. So take it piece by piece. All right. Stephen says, I was invited to meet with the producers for Good Morning America, The Today Show, and other producers due to my topic with paying for college. Would you have any suggestions for making the most of potential interviews or events? Stephen, that is wonderful. Congratulations if these are upcoming. I think the best thing you can do is have some type of immediate answer. Give them a very easy, or maybe not easy, but give them a straightforward problem that you can answer in 2 to 3 minutes. Make sure that you are subtly advertising that your website is in place, because many times they will put that in the scrolling bar on the bottom, where they say, if you'd like to learn more, go to stephenroberts.com, or what have you. And so make sure that you have those things in place, and enjoy it. I'm sure that any type of marketing or coverage there would be a great thing. Once you get those interviews and they go live, make sure that you start using those logos as featured in Good Morning America, The Today Show. Make sure that you are using that to make you go further. It adds credibility to all of your other marketing. If you then go to libraries and say, well, I was recently featured on the Good Morning America show for this book because of this, it immediately makes people go, oh, okay, so other people are finding this information beneficial. They're thinking that Stephen knows what he's talking about. It's worth my time to listen, because everyone knows that time is money and we all have a very limited amount of time. Make sure that you are presenting all of these wonderful opportunities and using them to the best that you can. All right, Carolyn asked, let me see. Yeah, you're welcome, David. Carolyn asked, regarding your sales sheet, can you say that your book is available anywhere books are sold if you are registered with Ingram Sparks? Or do you just say available at Ingram? Should you set books as returnable or unreturnable? Well, Carolyn, if you are trying to sell into the bookstore market, we always suggest that you put your books as returnable, destroy. And the reason why is it's kind of like an insurance policy for bookstores. If they buy your book and it doesn't sell, they won't totally lose all their money. However, most people do not get a ton of returns. If your market is really only libraries, well, then you don't have to have it returnable. Libraries are not in the market of using books and returning them. They usually buy exactly what they need, and then they're getting them out to their patrons. As far as the available anywhere question, I think you need to be generally sure that your book is available pretty much everywhere. So is your book up on Ingram for Ingram wholesalers? Is your book up on Barnes & Noble? Is it up on Amazon? And is your ebook also widely distributed? Are you up on Barnes & Noble and Kobo and iBooks? If yes, then I think you can say available wherever books are sold. However, if your book is only on Amazon, don't do that. I think you can go either way. Again, Baker and Taylor is one of those things that's really being marketed only for libraries now, so I wouldn't worry so much about that. All right, Wendy, let me see. I'm going to read this through because it's a little bit long. Okay, what's the best way to put a copyright on a page? My copyright date is 2016, but my new edition is 2020. I currently have it as copyrighted 2020, but I think I should have it as 2016 and 2020. In my experience, Wendy, you don't need to have the original copyright. You just put the most recent. If you don't like that, then you can always say first edition, copyright 2016, comma, second edition, copyright 2020. Totally up to you, but usually the most recent copyright is what stands. However, I am no expert in copyright. Certainly go find better information. If you have big concerns, I would go right and search copyright. But that's what I've seen, and that's what I would instinctually do, I think. Yep. Yes. Okay. So here's something. She said it's not a second edition with 20% more content. That's okay. You're not saying it's a revised edition. Any new edition would be a second edition, third edition, what have you. It can just not be called revised. Revised means that you're adding more content or you're changing content. You can call it a second edition, and you should call it a second edition if it's got a new ISBN number on it. That's just clarifying that it's not what was originally put out. I hope that worked for you, but if it didn't, let me know. All right. And Wendy says, I have all 18 books on Ingram. Well, if you've got all 18 books on Ingram, it sounds like you've gone wide, Wendy. So I think it's just a matter of marketing wide. Once you have that distribution set up, it's a matter of going to the places that you want to buy your book and asking them. And many times they'll say no the first time. You need to go in with a marketing plan. You need to go in with the information, telling them how many books you've sold, where you've been sold at. I know you in particular are on Chewy.com with some of your books. Use that. Tell them that you have proven sales and that you are on Chewy.com, and see how that goes. That's what I would recommend. How can we as independent publishers get on Baker & Taylor? Is there something similar to Ingram Spark for non-traditional authors? Well, Stephen, the way that Baker & Taylor works is that you actually have to apply. So they only take printed books. It is not a print-on-demand company. So what you would do is you would apply to Baker & Taylor for them to accept your book into the wholesale market for Baker & Taylor. And you do that with a marketing plan, and then you must agree to have books and send them to Baker & Taylor. Usually they start off with 5 to 10 if you're accepted. Many people will have those books printed at Ingram Spark, and then they physically send them into Baker & Taylor to fulfill orders. Another way to get around that is if you have offset print books, you go directly to a book distributor, and they have relationships with Baker & Taylor and Ingram and Brodart and everywhere, so that they use their relationships to get you approved into the system. But if you're looking to do everything in-house, you just apply directly to Baker & Taylor. They may accept you, they may not, but usually you at least, I mean, I say try it. If you have the sales, especially with a book like yours, Stephen, which I could see being popular in the library market, I think it's worth a shot. All right, what about copyright when the book is now going to be in paperback when it was published in 2016 as a hardback? New copyright date or old one? I would personally go with the old one on that because it's the same book. It's literally not different. But again, I'm not a copyright specialist. Check with a lawyer or someone who's specific to copyright, but I would go with the old one. I think the important thing here, guys, is that we copyright our work. Date is kind of, yes, I'm sure it's important, but the most important thing is get your copyright on there. All right, you're welcome, Wendy. All right, my first effort at indirect publicity is to offer local TV stations information about how Elizabethan parents name their children before our local Renaissance fair. What do you think? That confuses me. I'm sure I've got a blank look on my face, Victoria, and the reason why is I'm a little bit confused. You're saying information about how Elizabethan parents name their children. Do you mean how they name them after the local Renaissance fair? I think that you may be onto something, but your pitch isn't quite clear. And if I've got a confused look, most likely anyone you pitched would also. So I'd narrow it down, make sure that you have a very clear pitch that anyone not knowing anything about you or your book could immediately understand. If you're tying it to something local, I think that's wonderful. But make sure that they can read a sentence and clearly know exactly the story you're pitching them. All right, Wendy says, when asking about audiobooks and staying exclusive with Amazon for 40% or distributing more widely with a 20% cut, you had said to do my research on where the sales are coming from. I would love to do that, but I have no clue as how to research all of this. Can you please enlighten me? Wendy, my best friend is Google. I think always start with a Google search. It will often lead you to sites that maybe you have to have a subscription to or certain things, but there are so many different websites that put out statistics every year. Statistica is one of them, and I believe that site is largely free, but you need to find out what type of books are selling where. So if you have a business book, then where are people buying their business books? Not only what platform, but what countries. India is actually very, very big for business books. When we've had some big clients do things like BookBub, most of their sales have come from India. And while many of them come from Amazon, many, many, many of their sales will be coming from iBooks. So I think it's important that you kind of find your direct market and then you go from there. It's very hard if you're being general. If you just say, well, audiobooks, where do they sell? That's not specific enough because you will get a set of stats, but they may not be stats for your book because fiction and nonfiction will be different and memoir and business will be different. You really have to dial down to your market. One thing that Amy always says is that if you don't have a target, you can't hit it. So you have to be specific. You have to aim for something to get the best results that you can. All right, I'm hearing lots of talk about libraries, even to the point you mentioned a company that deals exclusively with libraries. Can you give a quick primer on this market to someone who didn't even think it was a market? Sure, Alexander. So the thing with libraries is this is a huge market that is often overlooked because people think of bookstores, they think of sales, they think of Amazon, and libraries, they think, well, I sold one book. What, maybe two if you're lucky, five if it's a big library system, but that's not a big market. However, you're wrong, and here's why. Not only do libraries tend to have a more open mind to books because they are willing to support local, but also they are willing sometimes to take books that bookstores simply don't have space for on their shelves. Bookstores always have to have the new, the best, and they have very, very limited space. Libraries, however, are more open and they have Overdrive, which is an ebook system often known as Libby, and there's some other ebook systems where they can take ebooks and then they rent them out to their patrons. This is a whole new opening that bookstores don't have. Bookstores generally don't sell ebooks. They are going with just the paperback or the hardcover, but print books. And libraries has this huge opening for ebooks. And because it doesn't take any space on their shelves, they can have a lot of books available. It gets you in the system. So if someone starts searching for your book or searching for a book on your topics, they can find you. Not only that, even though a library may only buy one or two copies of your book, there are over 13,000 libraries in the US alone. And if you sold one or two books to half of those libraries, that's over 10,000 sales. So it's a huge market that is, again, so often overlooked. And every time someone goes into a library and they see your book, it's continual marketing. People don't often realize that if someone sees your book in a library, maybe they don't rent it out right then. But if you have a book, let's say on college savings, they may not get it, but then they will go buy it because they're like, oh, well, that's going to take me a long time to get through, and I probably will need it as reference. And if they do rent it out, a lot of those people will still leave reviews for you on Amazon or Goodreads. And they may tell their friends about it. I know that I have a small reading circle that if we read a book and we love it and we use the library system a lot, we tell our friends about it. We say, oh my gosh, I couldn't put this book down. The library has it. Go get it. Sometimes we do, and sometimes we're like, oh, I can't go to the library. So we just go buy it on Amazon or on Kobo. The library market is the system that people, again, they just overlook, and we shouldn't. And not only that, Libraries are being visited more than bookstores. Not kidding, I'll say it again. Libraries in 2019 were visited more than bookstores. More people were visiting them, and often people are using libraries more and more as the economy starts to be, people are thinking more financially than they were, let's say, 10 years ago. They're not thinking, let me just go buy a book. They're thinking, let me save a little bit and go to the library. Libraries are becoming a source of information that people are using again. So don't overlook them. There is certainly Baker and Taylor. Again, they work exclusively with libraries now, and a lot of them work with school libraries. So again, that's another market that if you have a book that could go either to universities or would fit in the K through 12 system, library books are school libraries are a big market for many people. I know that's a lot of information. If you've got follow-up questions, let me know. All right, Stephen, are there generalized pricing levels for a book that we should be aware of? Example, $19.99, $21.99, $14.99. Well, here we go. It depends on your book. My advice when you are trying to price your book is that you go find books that were published in the last year that are good comparables to you. That means they're on generally the same topic or topics that are, compatible with your topic, that they're around the same length. And this is important, were they published by a big publishing house or were they independently published? A big publishing house will always charge more, especially for ebooks. And the reason for that is because they can. They have the clout, they have the advertising dollars, and the specialty that they can do that. When pricing your book, I think ending in 99 is a good call, or ending in 0, so either $19.99 or just $20. What I do not recommend is ending in 97 cents, so don't do $12.97. And the reason why is many times, years ago, when you ended in 97, and still in some retail stores now, when you end in 97, that's a discount book. So don't do that. 95 is fine, 99, or just in zeros. But you need to know your own market. Nonfiction tends to be priced a little bit higher than fiction, but it just depends. So go check out your comps and make sure that you are priced comparably, because you don't want to price yourself out of the market. If your book is more than the HarperCollins book on college savings that just came out, then you need to drop it down, or else you will lose your audience. Also, again, look at size. Is your book 100 pages and their book is 300 pages and they're the same price? People do look at that, and they look at that for value. I'm not saying everyone's looking for a big book, but if you are priced the same, they're going to be like, well, I'll get 3 times the information here for half the cost. Why wouldn't I go with that person? All right. Whew, that was a lot of information. I think we got through all our Q&A today. If you guys have any more questions, go ahead and type them in. I've got an email question. I will hop right on over to. Whoop. And then, let's see. Okay. How do I get endorsements for my book? That's a good question. All right, so someone is asking, how do you get endorsements for your book? I'm sure many of you have seen the really nice, beautiful quotes at the top of a book or on the back of a book that are saying nice things about the author, their expertise, or their writing. And someone emailed in and said, how do I get them? It's not as complicated as you may think. Really, all you need to do for a chance at an endorsement is to decide who you'd like to ask, put a letter together saying, hi, I admire you because, or I think that you may enjoy this book because, and give them a reason. Give them a real reason. I admire you because you write the best historical romance I have ever read. I've been reading your books for years, and I would be so honored if you would consider looking at my book, and if you're open to it, giving me a review or an endorsement. And then you send them a physical copy of the book. to an address. If you don't have a physical address, then you send out an email and you offer to send them a physical copy of the book. You will not get a response from everybody. You won't even get a response from half the people. However, if you never ask, you never get. And it's surprising how many times authors do try to help other authors by doing endorsements. And not only that, if you have, let's say, a nonfiction book or something that you can tie in to a different field, you have a whole nother opportunity. So if you have a nonfiction book all about, I don't know, animals. Let's say it's about animals. It's, let's make it a kid's book. It's a kid's book that is all about animals. Well, why don't you go to your local zoologist and see if they would be willing to give you a quote, or a local librarian, a bookstore, parents, a parent that really would enjoy your book. Use your market and use your book for inspiration, but go out and ask, because it sure doesn't hurt. And many times you'll get great response. Sometimes people say, I'm so sorry, I can't do that because of contracts or legal reasons, what have you. But maybe they don't. So try it and see what happens. All right. Maybe this could help the audiobook authors and narrators. It's FAFY.com, freeaudiobooksforyou.com. It's a service that provides free audiobooks for listeners and promotes authors and narrators. I have not heard of this website, so I can't personally say that it's great, but Denise is telling us that FAFY.com, which is freeaudiobooksforyou.com, is a good site to look into. So certainly go ahead for that. Thank you, Denise, for sharing that with us. I'll have to look it up now. All right. Can you use quotes from your Amazon reviews on your book and in your marketing? Well, the short answer is yes, you can. Anything that is put up on public domain can then be used as long as you quote it appropriately. So you can say, quote, best book I've ever read, end quote, reader review, or if they left their name, you can use a name. However, if you are using that, keep in mind that most people will look, they will find, and they will know. So if you are trying to say that your Amazon review is, I don't know, just make sure that you're quoting it honestly. We don't want to use an Amazon review and then quote it as Midwest Book Review or anything like that. Quote it honestly, quote it directly, and just use your judgment. I think using it in marketing is fine, but if you're using it on your book cover, be smart about it. Make sure that you're just not taking any old quote. And absolutely, I do not recommend that you use a review from a parent, a sibling, someone that you expressly know, because if that comes out, and these things do have a way of being found out, it immediately discredits you. All right, how can we get book reviews the fastest? Are there good forms that we could send free copies to get reviews? Here's the thing, Stephen, it depends on where you're trying to get reviews. Amazon has really cracked down on the review of books. So you can still send out free copies of your book and ask for a review. However, you cannot require a review, and you absolutely cannot ask for a review on Amazon. You can send a copy of your ebook out and say, hi, I thought that you might enjoy this book, and if you do, I'd love if you left an honest review. You cannot say on Amazon. Most people will leave on Amazon, or they might go to Goodreads or Barnes & Noble, but a good review is a good review, and they certainly all help. Some of the best ways to get review, NetGalley is certainly an option to do. Goodreads giveaways is another option, and just going out and finding people who would benefit. So if you're in Facebook groups, if you are in forums, or you follow a blogger that might be interested in your topic, reach out and say, I have my book. I'm really looking for people to read and review it. Would you be interested in looking at a copy? And some people will. Just know that when you give your book away, probably only 10% of the people who accept a free copy of your book will follow through with a review. I don't think people mean to not follow through, but maybe they didn't enjoy the book and they don't want to leave a bad review. Maybe they just got busy and they forgot. Just know that you don't want to badger these people that are doing a free service for you that are being nice. But certainly you offer it. And I always say you don't want to offer free copies to someone you know will buy your book. If you have a newsletter list, don't offer your book for free to anyone who says they'll leave a review. That's your market to sell to. Go find new people in new markets who don't know about you and who probably wouldn't just outright buy the book, and then offer them free copies. And I always say offer an ebook first. If it's someone that you really want to review from, like an endorsement, a librarian, a teacher, certainly offer them a paperback or a hardcover, but lead with the ebook. It's just more cost effective that way. If you cannot tell people to leave a review on Amazon, what about offering links to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Goodreads, etc.? That is walking the line. I think that if you leave links for everywhere that they could leave a review, it's the line that hasn't totally been addressed yet. However, it does specifically say in the Amazon rules and regulations that you cannot ask for people to leave a review on Amazon, and leaving your link may be considered that. That's all I'll say. What you choose to do with those rules is up to you, but that is what their rules actually are. All right, Terry says, I've heard you talk quite a bit about Goodreads for posting and reviewing your books. However, I've heard less enthusiasm from authors who have their books on Goodreads and eventually pulled them. Here's what I think, Terry. I would never pull my book from Goodreads. Why? Because anyone can add your book in. Absolutely, I can go find any book I want and add it to Goodreads. As long as it has an ISBN number, as long as it's published, I can add a book. So if it's going to be up there, I'd rather claim it. I'd rather people know it's mine, and I'd rather have it as a free place to put my name, my website, and my bio, because it could lead to other places. The thing with Goodreads is, again, anyone can leave a review. There's no system that tracks if you buy a book and actually read it. People can leave nasty reviews that have nothing to do with your book, and certainly you can report those, but Goodreads is kind of an open forum. I think overall it's more good than bad, but it's not somewhere I choose to spend a lot of my time with my authors. So I don't think that it's somewhere that I would send people to leave reviews. I don't think it's something that I would push very hard, but I think it's out there and you might as well use it. You can't get rid of it as much as you would like, so you might as well claim it. And again, I know some people find a lot of success and a niche there. People will sometimes do giveaways there. I haven't had a ton of success there, so I don't spend a lot of my time there, but it's another place that people go, and I know a lot of people use it to track the books that they've read. Some people leave reviews, and it's very big for book bloggers to leave reviews there. So just one more forum.